we saw that the semantic principle of classifying phraseological units has real merit, but it doesn't take into consideration the linguistic characteristic features of them. The considerable contribution in phraseological research was made by a prominent scholar, Vinogradov. His classification system is founded on the degree of semantic cohesion between the components of a phraseological unit. Units with a partially transferred meaning show the weakest cohesion between their components. The more distant the meaning of a phraseological unit from the current meaning of its constituent parts, the greater is its degree of semantic cohesion. Accordingly, Vinogradov classifies phraseological units into three classes: phraseological combinations, phraseological unities, and phraseological fusions. Phraseological combinations are word groups with a partially changed meaning. They must be said to be clearly motivated, that is, the meaning of the unit can be easily deduced from the meanings of its constituents. For example, to be at one's wit's end, to be good at something, bosom friends, gospel truth, to stick to one's word, to stick to one's promise, etc. Phraseological unities are word groups with a completely changed meaning. That is, the meaning of the unit does not correspond to the meanings of its constituent parts. They are motivated units, or, putting it another way, the meaning of the whole unit can be deduced from the meanings of the constituent parts. The metaphor on which the shift of meaning is based is clear. For example, to stick to one's guns, which means to be true to one's views or convictions. The image is that of a gunner who doesn't desert his gun even if a battle is lost. To sit on the fence, so in discussion or in politics, to refrain from committing oneself to either side. To lose one's head, to be at a loss what to do, to be out of one's mind, to lose one's heart to somebody, which means to fall in love, to lock the stable door after the horse is stolen, which means to take precautions too late, to look a gift horse in the mouth, which means to examine a present too critically, to find fault with something one gained without effort, to ride the high horse, which means to behave in a superior, haughty, overbearing way, the last straw, which is a final culminating circumstance that makes a situation unendurable, a big bug, a person of importance, a fish out of water, a person situated uncomfortably outside his usual or proper environment. And phraseological fusions, which are word groups with a completely changed meaning, but in contrast to the unities, they are demotivated, that is, their meaning cannot be deduced from the meanings of the constituent parts. The metaphor on which the shift of meaning was based has lost its clarity and is obscure. For example, to come a cropper, which means to come to disaster. Neck and crop, which means entirely, altogether, as in she severed all relations with them, neck and crop. To set one's cap at somebody, which means to try and attract a man. The image, which is now obscure, may have been either that of a child trying to catch a butterfly with his cap, or of a girl putting on a pretty cap to attract a man. To leave somebody in the lurch, which means to abandon a friend when he is in trouble. To show the white feather, which means to betray one's cowardice. The allusion was originally to cockfighting. A white feather in a cock's plumage denoted a bad fighter. To dance attendance on somebody, which means to try and please or attract somebody, to show exaggerated attention to somebody. So it is obvious that this classification system does not take into account the structural characteristics of phraseological units. On the other hand, the borderline separating unities from fusions is vague and even subjective. One and the same phraseological unit may appear motivated to one person and demotivated to another. The more profound one's command of the language and one's knowledge of its history, the fewer fusions one is likely to discover in it. The structural principle of classifying phraseological units is based on their ability to perform the same syntactical functions as words. In the traditional structural approach, the following principal groups of phraseological units are distinguishable. Verbal, for example, to run for one's life, or to run for one's dear life, to get the upper hand, or to win the upper hand, to talk through one's head, to make a song and dance about something, to sit pretty, which is an American slang. Substantive, dog's life, cat and dog life, calf love, white lie, tall order, birds of a feather, red tape, brown study. Adjectival, for example, high and mighty, spick and span, brand new, safe and sound. In this group, the so-called comparative word groups are particularly expressive and sometimes amusing. Cool as cucumber, nervous as a cat, weak as a kitten, good as gold, speaking about children, pretty as a picture, as large as life, slippery as an eel, drunk as an owl, mad as a hare in March. Adverbial, high and low. For example, they searched him high and low. By hook or by crook, she decided that by hook or by crook she must marry him. For love or money, for example, he came to the conclusion that a really good job could not be found for love or money. In cold blood, for example, the crime was said to be committed in cold blood. In the dead of night, between the devil and the sea, and the deep sea, to the bitter end, for example, to fight to the bitter end. Interjectional, by Jove, by George, goodness gracious, good heavens, and so on.